Hey there, welcome back to Reddit XO, the best channel for Reddit cheating stories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more stories like these. Now, let's get in the video. I, 28 male, found out about my GF's, 28 female, affair with her boss, 40s male, a week ago. Should I confront her before I leave? We've been together for 5 years, and I've been putting money up for a down payment on a house and a wedding, but that's all gone now. Every morning, I went for a run, but I couldn't find my phone since it was misplaced. I asked her to call my mobile phone, but she denied and instead handed me her phone. I accepted her offer. I had some reservations about her behavior during the previous 2 months, so I decided to eavesdrop on her conversations. For the sake of argument, let's pretend that all of her business excursions at late nights were really pretext for H-up with her boss, who happens to be a married man. No one knows when it all started, but based on the communications I've received, it seems to be occurring on a regular basis throughout the office. It came to an end when the lockdown was implemented, and the wife also learned about the affair. As a consequence, the boss was forced to put a stop to the practice. This also explained why GF was so irritable throughout the month of March. I regularly found her sobbing uncontrollably, but the reason she gave me was that one of her friend's mothers had died of ovarian cancer. It has been quite useful for us over the previous many months. It was a pleasure to spend so much time with her, and it seemed that everything was in working condition. We chatted about marriage, children, and what the future may hold for each of us. Her involvement in the relationship seemed to be greater than it had been earlier this year, as shown by her appearance. I had already started saving for a down payment on a house, but due to COVID, I was forced to take a wage drop. As a consequence, I've been on the lookout for fresh opportunities since last month. I've narrowed my job prospects down to 2 positions that have become available. There are 2 positions available, one in the same region with a substantial salary hike, and another on the West Coast with a significant pay raise with what is arguably the best company in my industry. The proposals have not yet been communicated to her since the negotiations are still ongoing. All of this, however, occurred only a few days ago. In the months since she began working remotely, girlfriend has had minimal contact with her boss. However, at the beginning of this month, their negotiations were reestablished. For the most part, it was all about how deeply they both regretted what they had done to their separate marriages, how he had to fight so hard to regain his wife's trust, and so on. The tone then changed in the second week, with a focus on the fact that they were still in love with one another, but that it had to come to an end. She also expressed her excitement about the prospect of marrying me and expressed her fear that I would break her heart if I found out about the infidelity. After all of their chatting, they decided that they would meet up for one more time before calling it quits between them for good on the relationship. Last Friday, I was made aware of the situation, and they plan to meet up this weekend. She also told me that she would be assisting a friend who will be returning to her native country this coming weekend. After I finished reading everything, I couldn't bring myself to get off the sofa for an hour. It felt like my whole body was weighing a ton. I started to envision them having relations with each other and making fun of me behind my back, and all sorts of foolishness flashed through my mind. For me, the previous week was a living nightmare. Looking at her, who was giddy with excitement about the weekend, just made things worse. Anyway, while she's away, I'm going to box everything up and get everything ready. I'm on my way back to my family's home in the country. I haven't shared anything with them yet. Rather, I haven't talked to anybody in quite some time. I've been holding everything inside of me, and it's starting to go out of control. It is for this reason that I'm writing this. Else I shall go nuts. I plan to take the post on the West Coast if it becomes available. It won't be in the immediate vicinity for a long time, so it's not a huge concern. I have no intention of leaving anything behind, not a note, not a text message, not even a photograph. As soon as I get on the highway, I'll put a stop to her. I've spent the most of this week organizing my finances and dealing with my landlord. And with that, I'm done. What I'm interested in finding out is whether or not I'm on the right road. Is it okay for me to speak with her about it? To be honest, April and May were excellent months for us, but I don't feel I can put my faith in her any longer. To be honest, it was difficult even to look at her face when talking to her the prior 2 days. I just wanted to be done with now. All I can say is that she had been looking forward to a life with me, and I'm sorry that our relationship has failed her in this regard. Story 2. So of 2.5 years had one night stand, trying to work through it, but I really need advice. Please give me your best advice. Please assist me as I need kind guidance. Here's the tale, followed by my questions. My boyfriend and I met 7 months before COVID began. We were intending to go long distance, touring the globe in various places for 6 months, but COVID forced us to return home and live in with each other, which was much too soon in retrospect. We never used to argue since we got along so well, had so much fun, and had the same ideals. We looked to be quite well set up for a lovely, comfortable life together, and discussing our future together was never a problem. After a year of COVID, he began working full-time and stopped putting in effort. Stupid me didn't notice or didn't comprehend why I needed to inquire. My so is quite emotionally intelligent, yet he didn't realize what was wrong with me. He went out 2.5 months ago, when the clubs reopened after a lengthy absence. That night, I was irritated with him and told him I didn't want him to get too messed up. He said he'd be home by 4 a.m. He didn't, so I was concerned and attempted to call. Around 8 p.m., he phones back and says he'll coming home, but he's still at his friend's place. He returned home 1 hour later, but frightened, I contacted his pal, who reported my lover had departed hours before. I addressed him in the morning. He said he got a female and went to her place, but they merely kissed and did not undress. He claims he was squandered. He had lied to me while on the phone with me at her residence. I questioned him many times, and each time he denied anything else had occurred. We had that day, and I asked him if he had any possibility of having an STD, and he responded no. Because I have a history of abuse, this is a delicate issue for me. I went a few days later on a 4-day trip, and when I returned, he admitted he had lied. He had intercourse with the girl without using a condom. He said he had no idea who she was. The following day, he said that he had discovered her identity and had spoken to her on the phone while I was gone. He had uttered so many falsehoods and had abused our trust, as well as my and our relationship. He claims that there isn't anything further to say about it, that he lied because he was afraid he would lose me, that he is still interested in spending time with me. The reason for this, he later realized, was that he had been, and continues to be, disinterested in our relationship. He seems to have difficulty with commitment. He wanted to be liberated from his situation. He didn't seem to be thinking at all. He has never worked on a relationship and has erroneous ideas about what a partnership should be like in the first place. I, on the other hand, am terrible at setting boundaries, something that I am now working on improving. He has a far lower libido than I do, and this has been a cause of tension throughout our relationship to this day. However, my thoughts turn to the notion that it is just I that he is not interested in. For the time being, we're working through the issues with him, who has put forth significant effort and is, I feel, doing his best. I'm exhausted from the amount of time I've spent working on it and being the primary accountable for our mutual progress. If we can find a solution and he is willing to change, I want to be with him. I also don't have time to be moving homes or doing other such things. The reason I'm still here is because we had a pretty good connection before anything occurred. Corona, I feel, has contributed to our sense of boredom by preventing us from engaging in anything interesting. Nevertheless, how can someone be so ruthlessly nasty towards someone they profess to love? Consequently, in response to my own inquiry, how can I restore my confidence in him? Should I go ahead and do it? What can I do to prevent myself from getting trust issues? To prevent being caught with another woman in my BF's company? Should I sleep with someone else without telling him about it? Is it possible for things to become better, and should I stay? Will he try to defraud you again? According to what I know, this is the first time he has done this, and he feels humiliated. Is he still a good guy, after doing this to me and showing no concern for how I was made to feel as a result? Do you have a broad view on my current situation? Thank you for taking the time to respond. In addition, thank you for being patient with me. I'm a little vulnerable right now,